in church while singing. Can you? There is nothing bad in it. Not at all. What I've noticed in those famous worship groups, they do this just because they have to do this. It's so cheap looking gestures. Like for real. I feel it, I smell it. Like, okay guys, do you really like those closed eyes and those like waving in and out? Is it really, I always question in this. For me it's like kind of, are you really can do this every single time when you come to the stage? Is it really like, that goes from your heart? Is that honestly like well done? You know what I mean? I need honesty here on stage, not just something that you have to do because thousands of people watching you and you want to give them in that condition of trance. You know what I mean? So be careful with that. No, that's a good thing because God's word says what? Saint people, men, are supposed to raise their hands when they pray, right? When they pray. But for music, be careful with that, okay? Don't play with that too much, okay? No, it's not bad. It's not bad. As long as you're really honest with God, you got it. You got it. I'm talking to you, yes. Okay. I hope I answered that. May I listen to classical music? Some people say there is also satanic influence in some classical artists. Yes, it is. However, most of the classical music was written by composers who belonged to church and who was hired by the church to write their music for. You know what I mean? Even secular music, if you know what a secular means, at that time, 16th and 17th century, they were alike, they were the same. Because it was written by whom? By those church musicians, famous like Bach, Mozart, Handel, Vivaldi. They had God's standards in their life. This music was intact. 1, 2, 3, 4. There is no that many syncopations. But what Satan did, he completely changed and reversed the use of syncopation in the bad path. Does that make sense? Did I answer to those? Okay. And I'm telling you, this music actually sets good taste of music in your life. Really it does. I'm telling you honestly, after listening to classical music for years, I can feel and smell trashy songs, even using Christians' lyrics into it. I can feel it so well and cheap done. If it's well or cheap, I can feel that. Okay. So please educate yourself. YouTube will never educate you. I wish one day I was talking to either my son or somebody saying, how about one day YouTube will cancel all its algorithms completely off? I'm just curious, what music you're going to go listen to? Rap? Hip hop? What are you going to listen to? You have to really dig into it and research what to listen today because there is no YouTube algorithms anymore. You know what I mean? So that's going to be blasting for us, but they never do this. The point of Satan to put all the entertainment industry under his power and rule and effect, especially music. Okay, about 15 minutes, less than 15. Is there music that is not directly connected to Satan or God? Is this type of music ever exist? К сожалению, no. It is not. Though there is that middle ground songs when there are really good lyrics, right? Saying about like a guy singing to a lady that he loves her with all his heart and everything. I love those songs, I'm telling you. However, is a human love better than the God's love? You get the point? You can love a lady or lady love a guy with a human love. It's a different than the God's love. So keep that in mind when you're listening to many songs that singing about love between people. You have to have God's love because God's love, right, that holds together married couples, right? Is that right? Yes. So there's no God's love. It's only just temptations and passions and stuff. You will break it down. Your marriage and you down. That's why so many young people today, they can't hold each other for a long time because there's no God's love. They're not connected together. Okay. A couple more things here. You mentioned that music either comes from Satan or God. How about music that was clearly not connected to either? Like Mozart or modern Spanish guitar music. Um, did I partially answer on that? Did I? So, when you're listening to, let's see, Mexican music, right? I really love those guitar playing stuff, really fun. However, be careful. Do not stick with this forever, okay? Do not make this your idol. Music has a tendency to get your attention forever, and you make it as your what? Idol. You try to glorify that music. You cannot live with that music. I can. One day I can listen to classical music, and the next 5 days I cannot listen to nothing. You know what I mean? You can be idolizing classical music, so be careful with that, okay? That's a big deal. You know that African American slaves sung spirituals, and I believe that they sang for the glory of God. Okay, I agree with that. How do you explain that they influenced the Satan idea of rock and roll when they sung spiritual? In spiritual, there is syncopation. Definitely, yes, I agree with that. But I don't think they sung to show themselves, but to call out for God. Did really the African American culture affect rock, and most of them really did praise the Lord, especially as slaves in their spirituals. That's a thing that I mentioned before. African American slaves, they brought their traditions of pagan culture, if you would, into churches. Some of them don't, I agree, yes. That's why spiritual is so good to listen to, right? They have syncopation. However, it's not that aggressive. Did ever spiritual call to rebel to God? Did you hear about that? Did ever spirituals call people to take drugs, have sexual relationships with anybody, or do something else? No, they did not. However, I get that. We all humans, that's why I was non-Christian before, for example, right? Though I was always Christian. But at some point I was not. Okay, we hope you guys know. So, for example, I'm not a Christian at all. I get converted to God, but I was non-Christian before. I was listening to lots of bad stuff. Do I, at some point, bring that culture into my church and into my life, into my Christian life? Do I? Yes, because I was listening to this a lot before. You know what I mean? So be careful. Often, those people still bring satanic rituals and church and ideas into the church. Okay? They not even understand that. Okay, so be careful with that. So make sure you're not bringing stuff that's really, though I'm not in opposition to God, spirituals, these are really good songs. Again, they're not promoting rebellion against God or against parents, or they're not promoting profanity all the time, right? This is a good genre that we can sing and really glorify God. But however, be careful with that. Be really careful with that. Okay, we have about 8 minutes, guys. Very interesting points. I actually was talking about many of these things earlier this week in conversations. Okay, what do you think about modern classical music such as films music like Hans Zimmer, John Williams, Ennio Morricone, James Horner, etc.? What do you think about Paganini? Suppose sold his soul. Okay, I love that. Okay, what I've noticed. But first of all, the entertainment industry, right? If you believe or not, it belongs to Satan. You may argue with me thousands of hours. I'm telling you, the first explanation, this world belongs to Satan. Definitely he used all his resources through the old entertainment industry like Disney Plus, Netflix, Hulu, all singing labels, recording companies, if you would, right? Famous artists, all the musical culture itself belongs to him. So, question, when John Williams, one of the stars of the show, one of the greatest composers on earth nowadays, he's so amazing, he records music for movies. Is he affected by that culture? By that pagan satanic culture influence? Do you think he's affected or not? Definitely yes. If he doesn't have a source with the God and connection to the God, he will bring into his music what ideas? God's ideas or satanic? Common sense. Satanic ideas into his music. So, I heard lots of his compositions. I was really pleased with his music before, and then I figured out that he's supposed to follow the satanic rule as well. So be careful when you're listening to those music as well. I would stay away, by the way, if you would. I would stay away from even John Williams or Hans Zimmer, unless you really know them face by face. Talk to them, call them, email them, ask them, are you Christian? Are you really? What are your testimony? You know what I mean? If you really would go that deep, do so. I was calling a couple of people when preparing to that seminar, asking them, what's your testimony? Are you Christian? What church do you go to? Because I took their materials for this presentation as well, so I was asking about their permission to use a couple of their slides and stuff. Does that make sense? So always question the stuff. Do not just take it for granted. No, just always question that. Okay, did it answer on that? Any comments from that person who was asking that stuff? Yes? Okay, 5 minutes, guys, I know you're tired. Okay. I think it's interesting how at Elevation, Hillsong, Bethel, Asbury Revival, the services would not even happen if it was hymn music. Their music is influential, I-D-O-L-A-T-R-Y. Sometimes I cannot pronounce those words. So yes, the entire goal of today's modern worship system is to idolize the music. Because music is such an influential part of our life that affects our brains, right? Affects our body moves, our ideas, perceptions about this life, our connection with the God or Satan. And Satan knows this. That's why he uses those big movements today. It's like hundreds and hundreds of millions of people who are affected by satanic culture, actually, by being in church. So I'm always questioning those big, like he says, what's the famous revival, right? Everybody heard that, right? Recently, right? Like lots of people at universities that were like, praise be to God, I feel the God. Is that so true? Maybe. Big question to me always, okay? Big question to me. Is that really true? Meet with one of those people, talk to them. Do this. If you really want to be knowing, having knowledge, call them, ask, okay, can I meet with you? Let's go to Starbucks, let's drink a cup of tea, let's talk about this. Is that actually true? And talk to them. Yeah, get them with you together and talk to them. Does that make sense? So, always question stuff. Okay, maybe a couple more and we're done. I'll try to keep this open here, by the way. Бывает ли христианская музыка с синкопами? Definitely yes. When you use this from time to time, but not all the time like in rap music, right? Because when it's all the time, your brain goes off task, by the way. Okay, what are your thoughts on country music? Oh boy. Okay, let's see. Let's think about this one. God give me grace. Okay, the country music, again, it's a good music, definitely, because it talks about like love between men and women, right? About country work, like work songs and stuff like that. However, it's definitely not has a source of God in it, is it? No. Though some people love it, right? You go to state fair events and stuff like they listening to this stuff. It's nice and smooth. Though remember, you're about to idolize that music and put this in the first spot before the God. You know what I mean? So music has the tendency, so you always have a temptation to idolize that music. So rather do not taste that. You can, if I say no, definitely you will listen to that. But do not do this all the time. Please don't. Don't play with the Satan, okay? Don't let him get you on his plate, okay? Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, is there music that is not directly connected? Okay, answer that. Okay. Okay, clearly, okay. Let's talk about a couple of things here. We have a couple of minutes, guys. Just a constructive suggestions. Okay, that's let's see. With all respect, it would be helpful if all the notes on the slides were in both languages. Some notes are only in one language. Yes, I'm still working on that. Still working. Thank you guys for that. Thank you. God bless. Okay. time for everything, somebody asks, right? Time for relaxation, time for swimming, time to just go outside of this world and just listen to some cool music. What music to listen to? Listen to music of 19th century. The reason is, people don't know what exists in the world besides stuff that YouTube offers you. Does that make sense? Get some to research. There's more people who've got cell phones with you. Research. Definitely classical music is good. Handel, Bach, let's see, Beethoven, Chopin. Go to the 20th century. Listen to music of Debussy, Prokofiev. I listen to jazz sometimes. I do. Jazz is actually not that bad as it's supposed to be. That cool jazz stuff, it's nice. I listen to that. Not often though. Again, I'm not idolizing this stuff. You know what I mean? I listen sometime when they get together, just play cool jazz, it's nice, or smooth jazz if you like. Or just with saxophone music. You probably know that artist on YouTube right now. He plays saxophone and he has lots of albums on YouTube. I forgot his name. What's his name? I think, yeah. So, however, I did not get into his personal life. I should probably call him and ask, "Are you Christian? What was your Christian path and stuff?" So it's not bad music if you listen into it once in a while. You're driving the road. But what I've noticed, I did this with my wife. We tested that. One day we were driving to Florida. Yes, definitely we could listen to music, right? Because that's probably the easiest thing. But we agreed on having conversation rather with our kids and us together. So we were listening to some smarty conversation. You know Jordan Peterson, famous psychologist and scientist and stuff. He was talking to one lady. She was asking him questions and stuff. And we were talking about like real life problems instead listening to the music. So involve your brain into something smart rather. You know what I mean? Unless you're listening to Rachmaninoff, probably his spiritual songs. Why not? Nobody probably knows. Anybody knows Rachmaninoff here? 2 people, can you imagine that? So maybe 3, yes? Yes, so they're just not raising their hands. So amazing compositions. How about Shostakovich, Prokofiev? How about modern composers today? We have lots of Sviridov. Those were really, really good ones. Tchaikovsky. How about Tchaikovsky, guys? Lots of good stuff. Build your musical taste. Yeah, get rid of trashy music, and you're gonna love that. Definitely Paganini's question to me. Paganini was extremely popular, and some people say that he sold his soul to devil. I never listened to his music, honestly. Just a couple of compositions. I'm not that dedicated to violin. If you're really interested, do some research about this. There's so much information today on Paganini live. What he did with his violin is he actually sold his soul to devil. I didn't research on this that deep, but I should, because that's a relevant question. Thank you for asking that. You brought to me extra idea for my next research. You gave me extra plate. Okay, to research on. Okay, I hope I answered on that. Okay, about time's up. Okay, let's see. Is ballet bad? Okay. What's the point of ballet? At the beginning of it, right? It's a good music when you listen into without looking at the artist. Why? You know, ladies always tempt to show their beauty, right? That's why we're using makeups, right? That's why we're using different clothing, brands, and stuff. So for ballet, the big thing for ladies to show what? Parts of their what? Bodies, their legs, everything, yes. So, for a normal married guy, and I'm married as well, because, you know, teenagers have lots of hormones, they're ready to release those, so keep them in one box, okay? Do not release your hormones. So, you better not risk your spiritual life and not watch that. Does that make sense? So be careful with that, because it's a thing that may put your brain into thoughts and ideas, associations with satanic things. So be careful with that. I would rather not go. By the way, modern ballet is extremely как это сказать по-английски, развратный, adultery or some of that. So it's maybe not adultery, but some of that. Help me out, my English people here.
Perverted.
So it's actually очень развратный. Like modern ballet, it's really bad. It's better, you better not watch it because so many artists who does those plays, ballet plays, means not classical one, but modern one, the 20th century stuff, it's really of morality. There is no morality there. You can see naked people, you can see everything nowadays. So that's not our thing to be at. Okay, so we as Christians stay away from that. So please stay away. That's really dangerous. So yeah. Okay. What kind of music do you listen to often or sometimes? Nowadays, like I don't know. I changed my mind for the last 2 years, 2 years actually a lot. So I was listening to Jewish music. It has a beat into it. You know the modern Jewish music, all the time. And then I figure out, especially when driving a car, what I've noticed, you try to push the gas pedal more and more, and you forget about speed limit, or you know what I mean. So you forget about everything. It happens unintentionally, right? You not control your brain anymore. And now I figure out, guys, no more filter, prefrontal cortex, bye-bye, hello. No more, you're driving 80 miles an hour instead of 30. You forgot, it's 35. It's a school zone, you're driving 80. So please don't do this. Though I never did this. My max speed was 125 one day. But I was chasing the guy. It wasn't about the music, right? And after this, I figured out that it was the stupidest thing ever to do. It's not worth it to exchange my life and not serve people of God. And after that, no more. Now I'm saint on driving nicely, okay, even in the city, okay? Maybe like 35, 45, max 10 miles, but no more. In the city, 5 miles more, that's it. So just be nice, because you set yourself as a role model, right? At church, out of church, so people, I know some guys do have lots of energy, they drive like crazy, and after church I see them passing by like that. Yeah, but I can catch them on my Nissan, by the way. That's right, yeah. If you need one. So please, you're always a role model everywhere. So please don't break your reputation. It's really hard to build up your reputation if it's broken. Okay? Okay. Are you ready for lunch? Or a couple more questions? Yes? Couple more? Thumbs up if you're ready for lunch. Or a couple more questions. If I answer a couple more, it's fine. Yes? Okay. We're supposed to finish at 1, but I'll give you like 20 minutes before. I know you already like, let's get some energy. Okay. Maybe one more here. What if I'm playing a piece that is written not for God? Do I play it or not? Would hurt me if I'm playing it because I have to, not because I want to. All the music before middle of 20th century, okay, before 1950s, did not have a temptation, most of it, to rebel the God rules and break morality, right? Break God's commandments. Does that make sense? So I was playing this. I still playing Beethoven sometimes. I play Chopin sometimes. They were not sane people, yes, but I do play that. However, I do not idolize them. I know they were regular sinners. They also had temptations. They did bad stuff in their life. Though from my standpoint, I do like music of Chopin, for example, a lot. I do like Beethoven's music a lot. And he was not Christian at all. Though you may say, yes, he was in the rebellion of God because he didn't repent. I agree with that. However, it wasn't the whole path of his life. He tried to encourage people to do good stuff through his music, have fire in their life. So yes, I do play that music a lot. Right? However, I do not play rock, I do not play rock and roll, I do not play rap, I do not play hip hop, I do not play disco music. There is always temptation in me. Okay, let's go ahead, have fun. Okay, and just calm myself. Sometimes I do play like I do like to play folk music a lot. Folk music, like middle grounds and stuff, like Russian folk music or Ukrainian folk music songs, just for me, just adding lots of stuff. Though I'm not the best of the best, definitely. There are people who are better than me 100 more times. I'm just to keep myself in shape. That's it. No more than, yeah. I will not go for a professional stage for that. Because when you go to a professional stage, you have to deal with satanic stuff. And it's there for you as long as you get to that level, okay? So always keep low ground, keep God ahead of you, and look at the God and make sure your music matches, make sure you're not idolizing music that much. Lots of my professors in Russia and here in the United States, they idolize music a lot. That's all their passion, all their life. However, their personal relationships in families, divorces, problems, alcoholism, drugs, cussing, bad life, smoking. Okay, does that make sense? So they still pagan people who serve not God, definitely. So be aware of that, okay? Yes, but you definitely can play that stuff. Yeah, it's good stuff. Classical, romantic music, that's the good stuff that you can still play. Lots of interesting melodies. Okay, one more? Yes? Maybe? Somebody said, is shredding on guitar a sin? That's the last question. Okay. What means shredding a... Like heavy.
That's like solos.
That's like solos, yes. Thank you for answering that right away. So, when you're banging on guitar really heavy, what do you bring to? You bring attention to you. But in church, you have to bring attention to whom? Right? You have to give people... Yeah. Something.
What if you're shredding just at home in your own room? You're not bringing it to yourself or you.
Okay.
Just for the practice.
Okay. You can. You definitely can. But be aware, there is always a temptation for you as a musician to bring this into church. That I've noticed all the time. You get something new. You learn something new. Okay, let's get this into church. Boom. Oh boy, it's not works here. No, not. You know what I mean? So there's always temptation. By the way, when you're alone at home doing crazy stuff, don't do it over too much. Be aware of that too. Okay, that's always. Satan catches people often when they are alone in their homes doing bad stuff. You know what I mean? So be aware of that too. Big deal. Okay, can we pray at the end? And I'll let you go for lunch. I hope everybody hungry now. And you can have some conversation. Okay. Господи, слава, благодарность Тебе за то, что Ты даешь эту возможность нам сегодня. Мы уделили это время для того, чтобы прийти сюда, послушать, Господь, что-то новое для себя, как-то пересмотреть свои стандарты, той музыки, которую мы слушаем. Мы говорили сегодня о музыке рок-н-ролл, Господи. Много всего вовлечено сюда, много артистов, много музыкантов, многие вещи, многие детали, на которыми мы не задумываемся очень часто. И помоги нам, чтобы мы критически подходили к тому, что мы слушаем, когда мы одни дома, когда мы в церкви, когда мы, может быть, в группе прославления, когда мы в хоре сидим, чтобы мы действительно не принесли в церковь тот чуждый огонь, Господь, не разрушили церковь, не стали соблазном для тех людей, которые вокруг нас, Господи, благослови, пошли мудрость, особенно здесь очень много молодых людей сидит, подростков, которые очень vulnerable, Господи, которые могут легко уйти от Тебя, Господь, потому что сатана пытается всяческими методами сегодня, используя индустрию развлечений, вовлечь нас сегодня во всякую грязь этого мира. Прошу, Господи, благослови, чтобы у нас был Твой стержень, чтобы Твоя сила сегодня пребывала с нами, чтобы мы могли, изучая Слово Твое, Господь, находясь в прямом контакте с Тобой, чтобы мы могли принимать правильные решения. Благослови всех нас. Также прошу, благослови эту пищу, которую мы сегодня будем вкушать, Господь. Благослови тех, кто готовил ее, кто старался, Господь. Укрепи их руки и даруй силы. А нам, Господь, нас благослови, чтобы укрепи наши сердца, наши тела, чтобы мы могли покушать, Господь, и прийти сюда, слушать второй семинар и третий семинар. Пусть Твое имя будет над нами. Я Тебе за все слава и хвала Отцу, Сыну и Духу Святому. Аминь. Okay, welcome to the cafeteria, guys.